screenplay back in 2012. Because I majored in theater and I was majoring in theater at the time, I had no idea how to write a screenplay. I listened to podcasts and I read books and I Googled things about formatting and how dialogue worked and all the little things you have to figure out to write a screenplay, and then I wrote it. This baby right here. 86 pages of, I'm not gonna call it garbage because I think that would be too hard on myself. But I will say it is a first draft, so it's not great. The first insane thing that I did was pants my entire screenplay instead of plotting it out. I hate plotting. I hate outlining. I've always hated it. When I was in school and our teacher would make us outline our essays before we wrote them, I would always write my essay first and then go back and make my outline based on the essay I'd already written. That doesn't work with screenplays, at least not for me. And when I was done, I had a mess on my hands. So I figured this time I would try something new. I would outline. I wrote out an entire outline on 2 sheets of paper, as painful as it was. After I did that, I wrote all the scenes down, each scene on its own index card, and then I taped the index cards to my wall. As I wrote, I would take an index card off the wall. At this point in time, I'm down to 2 index cards, 9 pages away from being done. But honestly, these last 9 pages are not coming easy for me. 10 drafts later, and I still have no clue what I'm doing. That's not exactly true. I do have an idea what I'm doing. It's just that getting over that hump, the self-doubt, and just thinking that I can't do it, it's really hard to fight through that. I'll sit down and then the blank screen is there and I want to write and I have everything I want to say and I wrote everything down on those cards, but there's still points in the script that I get to and I don't really know how to write the story. I think putting yourself out there is a scary and challenging thing, especially with something like writing, because you have to kind of divorce yourself from the idea that your script is you and you are your script. It's something that you're creating, but it's also an easy way to get criticized because you're putting things out there and then people can comment on what you wrote, and worrying about if it's gonna be good or if it's gonna be bad is a really big hurdle. Say hi! Writing it's so hard. It's so difficult. Sitting down and writing a screenplay is hard, even if it is your 10th draft. And yes, I spent a lot of time invested into this particular story, and a lot of people would probably say that I'm crazy because I probably should have moved on and written other things, which I have written other things, but I always once in a while would come back to the story and say, okay, well, how can I make this better? Is there a way that I can fix this or change this or do something? And it has been a struggle. The first draft of this script I wrote in a free program called Celtex. And you guys probably know what Celtex is, you writers out there. But back in the late 2000s, you could download the Celtex program onto your computer and type scripts and plays and all kinds of things for free. And then the way you convert it to a PDF is the program would connect to the internet and then convert your script or whatever you had written into a PDF that you could then save and print for later. Well, Celtex got the bright idea that, well, they want to make money. They started sending out messages saying, hey, if you want to be able to keep using this program, then you should upgrade and pay this monthly fee so that you don't lose all your work. I was a broke college student, still broke. I couldn't pay for it, so I lost access to the first draft of my script. It was just gone. Then I moved on to Adobe Story, and they did the same thing where they said, we're not gonna have this anymore. So I had to rush and get all my stuff out of the program, and then Adobe Story shut down. Everything was lost. I was using an Amazon screenwriting program. Can you guess what happened? Yeah, they shut it down. And so I was running around all of these different screenwriting programs and they were all garbage because they shut down, and then I lost access to my work. And writing is stressful enough. Just to sit down and have the audacity to write a story is already so hard. Then you have to worry about, well, what if the company decides to shut down and then my story is just gone. So now I write my screenplays in either Microsoft Word or Pages on my Mac. And a lot of people will probably tell you, well, that's not industry standard, and things have to be industry standard or else. So they'll use Final Draft or whatever. I can't afford Final Draft right now. Maybe I'll save up for it. I'm sick of these free programs that act like they want to, support writers, but then they shut down their services and screw you over. It's really a special kind of messed up. Now I'm writing my stories in Microsoft Word. Is that like the perfect way to do it? No, it's not perfect, and the formatting can be a little off because, if things are wonky and not exactly where they're supposed to be, then obviously it looks bad. But that's how I'm doing it for right now, and anybody who has anything against it, if you have something against it and you don't want to do things like that, you don't have to. I would encourage people to get a screenwriting software. I'm gonna keep pushing through, and I'm gonna keep writing. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're too kind. Stop. I did it. I screamed, I cried, I complained, but I did it. I'm not gonna lie. It feels pretty good. I really pushed it to 90 pages. Had I gone back and done the formatting correctly, it probably would have just been 90 pages without me adding a bunch of extra stuff. What do I mean by that? If I had gone back and fixed things like this, where I had a scene heading at the bottom of the page, scene description starting on the next page, if I had just fixed all those things, there's a lot of stuff like that, it would have probably been 90 pages without me adding extra dialogue and scenes and things. But I don't know. I'm happy with where it ended up. If you're out there struggling to write your screenplay, keep pushing through. While you're writing, you hit those walls where you start thinking to yourself, is this any good? Maybe I should just quit. This is so stupid. And then you want to go back instinctively to rewrite what you've already written. I would encourage you not to do that. I have fallen into that trap many times. Do not go back and rewrite what you have written until you have written once all the way through. Save those rewrites for later. If you really want to rewrite something, just make a note and then go back to it once you finish that entire draft. Because if you just keep rewriting, you're never going to finish. A lot of times, as writers, we get into our own heads and stop ourselves because we think what we're writing isn't good enough. We get hung up on, is it going to be good? Is it going to be good? It probably won't be good, especially not the first go through. And even my 10th go through is probably not as good as if I wrote it a couple more times. But it's only gotten better. So if you're writing a screenplay for the first time, my advice would be to plot and outline that baby. I suck at outlining. I still suck at it. I still hate it so much because I am just quick to just jump into the story. But you got to sit down and you got to plot. You got to write out what your scenes are, because every scene in your movie is like a little movie on its own. All the tips that screenwriters give about coming into a scene late and leaving early, just little things like that are really going to make your script pop. And if you sit down and plot all those things out first, then it's going to be so much easier to write. The next thing is to write and to keep going. Don't psych yourself out. Don't give in to the self-doubt. Don't give in to the little voice in your head that's telling you you're not good enough. You are good enough. Just the fact that you chose to sit down and write this story means you are good enough. The story that you are telling, no one else can tell except you. So you have to write it. And if you don't write your story, you are doing the entire planet a disservice by not giving us a wonderful piece of art. So please finish your screenplay. Some great resources that I use. I suggest the Bulletproof Screenwriting podcast hosted by Alex Ferrari. I also suggest Tyler Mowry's channel where he talks about screenwriting and story and character. But don't get so caught up on doing research and learning that you don't write, because you need to be writing. Always be writing. My first draft was a complete mess. My 10th draft is so much better, but it's not perfect. I could keep writing this thing, honestly, for the rest of my life, probably, but I have to cut it off somewhere, and I think 10 drafts is a good place to cut it off. If you would like to read Undead Again, I have posted the first draft and the 10th draft on my website. You can download them and read them if you'd like. The link is in the description below. You can tell me what you think or not. You can read it or don't. It's up to you. You can use it as a guide. You can make fun of it with your friends. Whatever you want. It's fine. If you're working on a screenplay, or if you want to work on a screenplay, tell me about it. Down in the description below, tell me like, what stories are you guys writing? What's your log line? How far in are you? What are your challenges? I really want to know. I feel like there's a big writing community here on YouTube that I really want to tap into. So if you're watching this and you feel inspired, or if you're feeling uninspired, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation, because I'm here and I'm doing it, and this is what my life is. So on to the next one. Video.